Okay, I think we will start. So I'm Stefan Waldhauser, Director Alfresco Business Solutions, and I'm more than happy to repeat this session for you. So I will do this not alone. With me is Doug Edwards from the PGA Tour, and after that we will have Michael Waldrop, not on stage, but talking about the contract management solution built with Workdesk. So before we dig a little bit deeper into Workdesk, you have seen this slide a very similar way in the keynote of Doug. It's just to remind you on the broader content management landscape. So we have at least 3 different types of content-centric business apps. There's web content management or web experience management, and we have content collaboration. And so Alfresco Share, as you all know, is this is the sweet spot of Alfresco Share in SharePoint. And we have, in addition to that, a segment, the analysts call this transactional content management. It's around process-centric business apps when it comes to the core of the core processes of organizations. And when we map this picture to the Alfresco product portfolio, we have now, with Alfresco Workdesk, a tool which is dedicated and designed for especially these use cases in the transactional content management space, in the case management space. So that's where we are with Workdesk. And here you see a few examples of those process-centric content challenges. You see this in finance, government, and really the operations of any larger corporation. So the first example here, contract management, you will see later on is in this talk. We plan to go to market with Workdesk with different of those type of solutions. So you expect to see more of these, more directly from Alfresco, but also a lot more from partners. So the goal of automating these document-centric processes are always to streamline the processes, to get more efficiency into the process, to realize cost savings, and then at the end of the day to get more customer satisfaction. And these are exactly the key benefits of Workdesk. So how is Workdesk realizing this? There are 3 major concepts that Workdesk brings on top of the Alfresco platform. The first is business role management. So in addition to the access control that Alfresco provides, we add the concept of business role management. That means that depending on who you are and what your role is in your organization, you get a different view on the content and on the application. So the UI looks totally different, or can look totally different depending on the user's role. Very tied together with business role management is what we call the virtual folder concept. That means that one document, of course, has always one physical location in Alfresco, but can be seen in different virtual views according to these business roles. This is a very, very important concept, and you can do a lot of great things with it, and we will see this later on in the demo. Last but not least, Workdesk apps are always configured, not coded. So it's very important because this, when we speak about customization with Workdesk, we should really speak about configuration because you don't need to be a Java developer to build such an application. What you will see in the contract management demo later on comes out of the box, and you can configure this. Of course, you need some skills around XML, but don't expect that you have to be a great programmer to do that. When we look into this to a more graphical view, here you see that there is always the Alfresco repository, and that could be the same existing infrastructure and system that you have already in place. Very important to understand is that Workdesk is not a totally new product. yes, it's new for Alfresco, but it's an add-on, an additional component to your existing Alfresco platform. So you can use all the existing applications that you might have in the collaboration space, maybe based on share, maybe you have built individual applications. And in addition to that, for a new project, you can use Workdesk to really enable these business role management and get personalized apps for the different departments. That said, I will hand over now to Doug, and he will tell you what PGA Tour has done with Workdesk.
Thanks. Kind of give you the approach to the implementation, why we chose Workdesk, how we implement, and a little bit about us, and then I'll turn it over to Terence from our partner Bluefish that's really worked with us, and then Michael will give a demo. So a little bit about us, PGA Tour. We support, well, the tour in general has 5 different tours at this point. We've listed there the PGA Tour, Champions Tour, Web.com Tour, Canada, and Latino America. Over 120 tournaments yearly. From an IS standpoint, 1,300 computer users. Those are spread out throughout our headquarters location, 17 TPC clubs, and 30 additional remote tournament locations. And we have a staff of about 50 IT professionals that are supporting those individuals. Of those 1,300 computer users at the moment, our base, our focus group for Alfresco, Share, and Workdesk is about 600 users. So why Workdesk? We actually began using Share. We've been using the Share UI for about 1.5 years now. We've got about 3/4 of our headquarters staff using Share. But what we found was that there were specific roles within the business that Workdesk presented a much better option for those business units. The role-based access was critical. So there were certain business units that had specific roles to play, specific document usage, and the Share UI, the collaboration type of environment just did not make sense for them. They needed to be able to get to their files quickly, utilize those files quickly, and Workdesk presented that option, which leads into that kind of that streamlined UI, giving them the quick access to the files that they need when they need them, not having to go through Share and go through all the UI there with Share. Workdesk provided 3 products really: the Workdesk product, the core Workdesk product, the Office Workdesk product, and then the mobile Workdesk product. And so the Office Workdesk provided what we felt was a more seamless integration with Microsoft Office. So the majority of the documents that we're talking about that our staff uses are Word documents, Excel documents. There are PDF documents, obviously, that contract stuff like that. But from a workflow standpoint, being able to interface with Microsoft Office much more seamlessly was important. From a back-end standpoint, the configuration versus code that Stefan talked about, and Terence will talk a little bit more about that. And just in general, having an extensible framework, being able to build on top of it, being able to architect solutions behind it, very important to us, as with Alfresco in general. And then the mobile Workdesk, as I spoke about before, really, we've got a very mobile staff, and a vast majority of our staff works now on iPads or their iPhones, and so having the mobile Workdesk product that went along with Workdesk, being able to work on their mobile devices just like they would work in the office on their computer was a very large value add for us. So how do we approach our implementation? And this is with Workdesk and Alfresco in general, very broadly. But for us, technology alone does not get the job done. Our value add as an IT department is really going through each business area and helping them identify really where their processes currently stand, how can we help them achieve what they want to do, how they can improve their processes from a document standpoint, and really having Workdesk, again, back to that role-based approach where you have certain business units that certainly have very, very targeted approaches to how they work with documents. They know they've got inefficiencies in their area right now, but rather than tackling it with technical approaches up front and right away, just really working with them and making sure that, really the value add from the IT department, aside from the technical piece, is really getting them to the point where they can articulate what they do, what their processes are, and then how we can get that into Workdesk. Focus on compelling business cases. We, like I said, we're a smaller IT shop for what we support, and so we are getting targeted by a lot of different groups with ideas and things that they want to get accomplished. We have to focus on really the compelling business cases for the company as a whole. Thorough requirements gathering, again, the biggest piece for us to make something like Workdesk successful. We found that it's very important to go right to that business unit, work with them up front to make sure that what you're building, what you're architecting in Workdesk is really what they need and what they want. And that requirements gathering, again, is not technical requirements. It's more business requirements, how it's really a business process that you're going through and really talking through how they work with their documents, how they work with their workflows, how they do their case management, their contract management, whatever the business case is. Those use cases, you really need to get embedded really with the end user base and talk through that. Solid pre-project planning is in line with that, really planning through that type of stuff. Engaging your vendors and partners early and often. So we have Bluefish Development Group. Terence will speak here in a second. For us, we rely very heavily on them. We don't have a staff of people that is focused directly at Alfresco at 24/7. And so we had to really get them engaged early, make sure that they were bought into the complete process, and follow through. Communicate, biggest piece here, I think this is big on anything that you do, but over-communicating with the end users, making sure that what we're delivering from a Workdesk perspective is going to be adopted, it's going to be accepted because you continually communicate with them. The last two, embracing the constraints quickly. There's no sense on any project really, just kind of working through constraints and trying to overcome them. You need to just embrace those quickly, figure out what you can and can't do, and move forward with it. And then process doesn't equal perfection. That's kind of there's a human element to all of this, obviously, and one of the roles that from an IT perspective we play is filling these gaps. You can have processes in place that gives you the framework to get something done, but it's really the human element that gets you to the end. So specifically, the project for us was to really make Workdesk become a singular entry point for our organization's documents, our business documents. And to do that, we took a departmental approach. Like I said, we've got departments. The vast majority of our departments are using Alfresco Share for their business documents. Having the ability to add Workdesk on top of that single repository without having to migrate documents to some other source was great. We can have one singular repository. We have certain groups that we still want to migrate network share drives to Workdesk, and in some cases we want to migrate from Alfresco Share, if that makes sense, to Workdesk as well. At the moment, our staff is either working in Share or they're working just from a standard File Explorer network drive perspective. And again, this is very document-centric stuff. I mean, it's end users working with documents. That's what it is. And what you find is as they're working through those documents, they've got their own processes on how they're doing things, and it's just really vetting that out and kind of extracting that from them to make it work and make it more efficient in Workdesk. So some specific use cases. We have a marketing PowerPoint solution that Terence helped build, or really not helped build, he did build in Workdesk. We have a marketing team that basically has a repository of PowerPoint presentations that they've given over time to various title sponsors and targeted groups that they're trying to sell to. And they've historically had difficulties if they know they're going to go market to somebody in the liquor space and they want to focus on the charitable aspects of the tour or those types of things. being able to go back into that repository and finding a PowerPoint presentation that makes sense to just reuse parts of it in this particular presentation. They've never really had that ability. It's always been a very cumbersome process for them. Workdesk gave them the opportunity to really add metadata, be able to search on that metadata very easily, very quickly, very targeted approach to getting those PowerPoints right out of Workdesk a lot more easily than from a file explorer standpoint or from a share standpoint. Legal contracts and executed documents, a very simple case of contract management, which Michael will kind of go through a demo here in a little bit. Three-party agreements kind of builds on that. That's kind of another step on our legal side. We have the scenarios of contracts and agreements with the tour. We have contracts that are between the PGA Tour, between the tournament organization, and between the sponsor. A lot of back and forth, a lot of things that take days or weeks or even sometimes months to go through a process from a workflow standpoint. Being able to kind of access those not only being able to get those documents into a repository, get them tagged appropriately, get them routed to the right place, but really Workdesk makes it extremely easy to go find those documents and to retrieve them and get them back out of the repository based on those business roles. External sharing use case, this is one that we're still working on. So Workdesk out of the box does not really have the ability like Share does to just to share to external users, basically non-LDAP users or internal Share users. Terence has built an external sharing functionality within Workdesk that we're currently in a beta test use. Department general use case is really just the ability to access for departments that don't have necessarily very specific targeted workflows, but still need to just get to specific documents. We feel like Workdesk provides them possibly a better alternative than Share to go from a file explorer use case to a more web-based scenario. And then the user home case, currently we're trying to get everybody to kind of use their user home as kind of a local store for their documents rather than storing locally. Alfresco Share makes that a little bit difficult because there's not edit online capabilities, and there's a few other things that we run into problems with. And Workdesk actually provides a lot of functionality with that. You can access the user home a lot easier through the Workdesk framework. So where are we at? We've got it deployed, we've got it branded to our standards. We've got marketing using it in production. We've got the legal and general staff using it through beta testing. And we feel by the end of the year we'll have the legal department really going through and using it rigorously with the contract management case. And as I mentioned, the external sharing cases in testing. So some of the feedback, like I said, the interface is very easy when you compare File Explorer kind of look and feel to Workdesk, very similar, something that they're very used to. The ability to search, it's a little bit more robust search, especially when you have a lot more metadata-driven options within Workdesk. And it's easy to really get to, again, this is a part of what Michael and what Terence will talk about, being able to configure it very granularly for the departments and for the roles that they're playing, so that what the legal team is seeing is they're seeing whatever they need to see, the finance department only sees what they need to see, and it's very, very easy to implement that. And I'll turn it over to Terence so he can talk a little bit about the implementation side.
Thanks, Doug. So I'm Terence McDevitt, solution architect with Bluefish Development Group. I said that wrong the other day, and I've heard about it all week, so I made sure I got it right. I'm going to be quick. So I want to talk to you about Workdesk from two perspectives. So we're a partner of Alfresco. We're working with Workdesk for the last year or so, at the tour for the last maybe 7 months or so. And I want to give the partner perspective of Workdesk. So we've done a whole bunch of share development over the last few years. And moving to Workdesk was different for us because it's largely configuration-based, not development-based. And so that was a little bit of a change for us, but it was a good change. So from the solution architecture standpoint, it allows us to this sounds cliche, but it allows us to focus on the business problems that we're trying to solve versus, dealing with development. We still do some development for sure, but most of our focus now is, okay, how can we take the plugins, the functionality in Workdesk and tailor it to the business processes that the tour has and some of our other clients. So that's great. It's been a nice change of pace for us a little bit. From the technical side of things, from a technical architecture standpoint, Workdesk is a web app just like Share is, and we deploy it out into the same JVM that Share is deployed into. And from a deployment and development standpoint, it's just integrated into our existing build and release processes that we have for Alfresco and for Share. So anytime we have some sort of change, whether it's a configuration change or actually a coding change in Workdesk, it just runs through our standard build and deploy process that we've already got for Alfresco and Share. So it's made that pretty easy for us. So again, we just tend to think mainly about configuration, how we're trying to solve problems, as opposed to how we're actually developing this. So, and I think Michael's going to show you guys a demo of it. So.
Yeah, so we don't want to kill you by PowerPoint. So we will go now into one example, what can be done with Workdesk. This is a solution template, we call it, that you get with Workdesk if you buy the subscription. And I don't want to lose any time on the motivation, why contract management is so important. So almost no organization has really full control about all their contracts. And this is all about now to take workload off from especially procurement. So the solution focuses on the buying side, not on the sales side. And how to enhance the typical processes of approval, for example, in contract management, and how to save money because you can you have some reports where you can really monitor contract milestones, and the intention is never again lose the opportunity to terminate the contract or renegotiate terms because you don't know when this is happening. Okay, with this I want to hand over to Mike for the demo.
Great, thank you. So I've done presentations and demos for many, many years. One thing that I know, after 2 awesome days of a conference right before lunch, right before we're about to head to our airplanes, the demo gods are angry. So we're going to use a screen cam today so that we don't tempt the demo gods and see we're already having display problems. It's just the way the world works.
Did you not feed the demo?
I must not have. So here we go. So there we go. So let's talk a little bit about this contract management template. So this is an example implementation of Workdesk that comes out of the box specifically configured to solve a particular business problem, which is managing contracts. This particular example, the demo scenario, is a company called Green Energy. And what we do is we build wind farms and put that power to the grid. So there may be a variety of types of legal documents and contracts that we manage at Green Energy. This is the Workdesk UI. We see here I've got different kinds of contracts around employment, service contracts, maybe some real estate contracts, some supplier contracts. And any of these individual components can contain a number of content elements. Okay, come back, mouse. Hang on 1 second. Let me switch to different display mode so that we don't have this problem. So these are employment contracts. So I have different people that work for the company. I may have some documentation relevant to a particular individual. So that there's some documents that are represented. This info panel here may pull other data about these individuals. So if I'm in HR and I'm looking for information about an individual, I don't want to have to browse around my entire repository. I need it organized in a very logical way. Here's another type of contract around service technician contracts. So maybe we have managed some cases, if you will, around repair work of a windmill. So here I can organize it by case. So I have replacement of an engine. I have a couple of documents that we worked on when we did that work. So now instead of having to rely on folder structures and names in order to figure this out, I can have a very dynamic way to organize all of the relevant content and business context around the work that I'm doing. So as I expand this case, I can also see functional capabilities integrated right in. So if I want to go see who are the contract partners that I worked with on this case, I can see right here I've got a list of those people, or other people that have worked on this project. I have an individual named Sandra Service, and when I go there again, I pull up information about that individual. So from a business perspective, I'm not worried about trying to go find all of this stuff and log into multiple systems in order to do it. I'm consolidating the information in a very natural way to work on the case, to contact the people, to deal with the companies, and also deal with the documents that go with it. So that's a fundamental capability of Workdesk, is to kind of create this way to work within business context. Here what I'm seeing are other contracts that this individual, Sandra Service, worked on. So maybe she worked on another thing around repairing a wind control unit, and I want to go see what the documents and the content around that case are. So again, I'm taking that business context instead of just browsing through a bunch of documents. I'm browsing through in the nature of the way that I do business. So next, what we're going to show is how do we create all of this? How do we create this stuff? And we'll create a new project, if you will. So here I have windmill contracts. So I may have it organized by different purchasing contracts that we can do. So I have maybe different projects for a wind farm, and I see this complicated structure of multiple types of documents related to this purchase, terms and conditions, proposals, pricing documents, all these different pieces of content relevant to this project. So in order to create one of these, this is where the contract management template really shows some of its power. I'm going to go create a brand new project or contract, and notice here I can have different definitions of the content and organization around these different types of projects. So in this case, we're about to create a purchasing contract. So the process you're about to see is Green Energy is going to send out an RFP and say, we're ready to buy a windmill. That involves some documents. I'm going to get some responses back from vendors. We're going to go through a procurement process. So I'm going to choose the purchasing contract. And when I do that, Workdesk is going to instantiate for me not only a structure for storing all of this content, but also some templated documents that belong in that structure. All of this can be defined. There's a graphical contract administration tool that I can define all of the structure, the documents that belong in there, as well as some of the metadata that's going to be common to all of these documents. So here I'm putting in the name of the project, and I can put in a configurable list of fields of data that may appear in multiple documents in multiple places. So for those of you that know Alfresco, these are aspects that are controlled in the data model of Alfresco. I'm able to enter all of that information here and apply it to the documents that are here. So I'm putting in the type of contract, the expiration date, the metadata that really is consistent across this project. Notice I have like a contract ID that may get automatically generated. This may be my own internal unique identifier that I apply to projects or contracts. So as I fill in the data, the amount, the currency, what kind of windmill I'm looking for, what kind of power rating that's there, I'll click Save, and now we'll save all of that data and create this new contract, this new Bedford project, if you will. So Workdesk automatically created the structure, the folders, all of the functional capabilities that we've associated with these types of contracts. And under Request for Proposal, there's actually a Word document that came from my template library that now when I open up the Word document, it takes me right into Word, and you see now that metadata has been propagated into the documents themselves. So now the Word document already has some of the key information filled out for me. I can have all types of data here, including drop-down boxes that are constrained lists. And this is the status of the document. This is actually going to help drive workflow. It's going to actually move this through the workflow process by simply changing the metadata in the Word document. We can see all the detailed contract data, and of course I can go in and start manipulating and adding and changing and what have you, all of this contract data. And when I'm done, I can simply save and exit. And again, through the Office integration, it's just going to save the contract, the document, right back into the repository. And through the power of Alfresco, we can also automatically, for example, generate the PDF document. Because typically we're not going to ship Word documents around, we're going to ship around PDF documents back and forth between approvers. So that's all automated behind the scenes. As the contract person, I'm not really worried about what all those processes are and procedures. I'm going to code it into the platform itself. So this is just going to show me that, yes, indeed, a PDF document did get generated, and this document can now start moving through a workflow. So now let's sort of fast forward in our brains through this process. So I've created an RFP. I'm going to send it out so that some of my vendor partners can respond to it. Those vendor partners are going to send me back a proposal. So now I'm at Green Energy. I want to get the proposals that all of my prospective vendors have sent me in response to my RFP. Well, you know, if I'm part of the legal team, I probably work in email most of the time, and that's where I want to live. I don't want to live in some other UI. I just want to live in email. So now I've got in Outlook, I've got an email from this company called Hurricane Windmills. The email has an attached proposal document. So I can look at my email. Oh, great, they sent me a proposal. Let me take a look at it. I'll open it up, look at the PDF. Here's the proposal that they sent me. Wow, that's really interesting. So now my job is to make sure this moves along in the process and gets to where it needs to be. So by just doing a save as inside of Outlook, I can actually talk to what's called our Office Workdesk product. This is what Doug was describing earlier. And instead of just trying to figure out where to store this document, I just want to tell Workdesk what it is that I have, and I want Workdesk to tell me where the document goes. It's not my job to figure out where it goes. Workdesk, you tell me. So I have a search capability right here integrated into the Save As dialog. So I can go into here and say, well, what I've got an email. It's on this Bedford project, whatever the name is. I don't want to have to remember what it is, so I'm going to search. It's something around Bedford, and it's a purchasing contract. So Workdesk, you tell me where this belongs. Workdesk comes back and says, well, here's a project that matches your search criteria. Oh, okay, it's a proposal. Let me put it in the proposal folder. So in Alfresco Share, I would browse around and make sure I knew which folder that document went in, and I would make sure I put it there. In this case, we're letting all of that be done by Workdesk. I can also apply the appropriate metadata. So it's not just about the document itself, it's the metadata that helps make this contract useful. So we're going to prompt and collect the metadata as we go. So now when I save this, it'll now become a document inside the right part as described by Workdesk. I can preview the PDF. It's now in the system and ready to go. So now I'm ready to go to the next step in the process, which is to get this document approved. So right here from the document view, I can click on this icon and say, well, I'm ready to now put this document under workflow. It needs to have a legal approval done. So now we're going to initiate that workflow, put our comments in, send this document along to the approver. Now we're going to log out of Workdesk here, and you see that this person has a lot of capabilities, but maybe the legal approval team really needs a very focused UI. They need a role-specific UI, very simple, very focused, not a lot of tabs, not a lot of noise. I just want to see what it is I need to do today. Here are my tasks. I'm the lawyer. I've got 2 documents to approve. I'm going to go approve them. Again, I don't want to have to worry about navigating through a complex UI. I want it to be as simple as possible. I'm not saying lawyers are simple. I'm just saying these particular lawyers want it simple. So I get a task. The task has some content. Of course, I can open up the document and look at it. But the other thing is, now I'm about to make a decision on this document. I need the business context that this document belongs in. So I can read what's in here. Yeah, does it have the T's and C's in it? But maybe I want to know, they just made a proposal. What was in my RFP again? What did we actually ask for? Does this proposal match the RFP? So now I can very quickly click here on this icon, which will take me right into Workdesk, right into the context of this project and all of the associated documents of this particular project that we're talking about. So I can review the RFP. Now when I look at their proposal, I can make sure that things match. Maybe I want to look at master agreements. Maybe I want to look at other documents relevant to this. So now as a decision maker, I can see the context that this that I'm approving belongs in before I make my decision. So now I can make an approval, look at the document, make sure that it's good, and the workflow moves along. No applause or like, ooh, no, okay, it's the end of a long day, I get it. So these are the kind of the key elements that Workdesk provides, and this template comes out of the box with all of this designed toward this kind of process, right? So the idea of being able to create these role-specific, simple user interfaces, being able to do a majority of my work right within Office, which is exactly what Doug was describing at PGA Tour. It's important to keep users where they want to live and not force them to do something that they're not accustomed to. The ability to integrate the workflow and the content together, right? So I wasn't moving back and forth between different things. Workflow and content are married together in the UI. I can get to relevant information to make my decisions and do it quickly. Make sense? Okay. So I think we're going to open it up to a few questions. Just come back to the slides. Any questions about what you've seen? All right.
Hi, that was pretty. It was a great demo. Yay!
Yeah. Okay, there it is. I just wanted, and you were at the first one too. You're a repeat customer.
Yeah, I like it. A couple of good questions. One for you, Mike, is could you quickly explain again, or give an overview, the kind of the strategy you guys have for doing authentication and then essentially role parsing to get a person to the right screen?
Sure.
And workflow.
So there's a couple of pieces to that, right? So authentication and authorization is pretty simple, right? Same for Workdesk and Alfresco. We can hook into LDAP, Active Directory, so that user IDs and group membership and all of that centrally managed in your system of choice for managing identity. Then there's the idea above and beyond that, which is the idea of business roles. So I may be a member of a group or 3 or 4 groups, but within the context of a process, I wanted to find a specific business role. I'm the contract approver. And so in Workdesk, I can configure a contract approver has not only rights to view certain content, but they also have rights to certain functions within the Workdesk UI. Can they upload a document or not? Can they approve a workflow step or not? So very granular control based on that role of what somebody can do in the process, right? So authentication and authorization comes from LDAP. Role definition and management of what that role can do is part of the Workdesk configuration. Does that help?
It does, yeah. So basically, if you were in an AD environment, you could basically parse out the multiple rosters to which an individual belonged, and then essentially build up a matrix of access permissions to, let's say a person that maybe had access, should have access to a couple of different areas. Right. Maybe they're in legal, but they also have to do some contract work, and so you want to have them jump between 2 or more different areas in Workdesk.
Right, right. So Active Directory groups could define, hey, these people that are part of these groups have permissions in these areas, and then Workdesk could say there's a role for a user that belongs to those groups within this process, and that role can do these functions within the application. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So usually permissioning, if you think of it from the Alfresco perspective, permissioning is, I have this content, these people can read it, these people can read and write to it, these people can do anything to it. And then what Workdesk adds on that is these people at this part of the process can do these application functions. Okay. They can, you know, like I say, upload a document or something like that. Does that help? That's
good, yeah. If you don't mind me hogging this, maybe a question for Doug?
Sure.
Yep. Doug, I just want to say it was fascinating. I never thought about all the back office functions that have to go on for something like PGA. I just picture the golfers out there in their zen-like trance state on the greens, playing golf. I didn't think about all the back office functions. But I was just curious. After this demo, I was wondering, do you have or do you ever foresee in the future, is there a reason for your staff to maybe jump between Workdesk and then, like during the day, depending on what kind of action they're doing during a workday, flip between Workdesk and then maybe jump back over to Share, back and forth, depending on if they just want to do a simple document retrieval to read it, or versus actually working on it? Or is that something that might be covered basically between, so there's like a triumvirate? You got the Share client, you've got the Share in office, and then I think you mentioned there's a Share mobile as well.
Yeah, there's a mobile.
So I'm curious if you have dealt with that yet.
Yeah, good question. And we're still going through that. Our goal is if you're working in Workdesk, we're going to try to keep you in Workdesk and not have to go through different UIs to work with documents. So part of that general use case that we were talking about, let's say even if you're in the legal department, you have a specific function through contract management, but then the legal department also just has general departmental documents that they want to work with. Nothing to do with contracts. It's just the out-of-office form and the reimbursement form, stuff like that. Not having to make them go to one area, go to Share to go work with that stuff, and then go to Workdesk to work with the legal contracts. We're trying to get to where they have one single place to work from.
So maybe if you're already working in a Share environment, it sort of precludes any need for any individual person to actually go to Share, into the Share environment.
Correct.
If they use
Access.
Workdesk.
Yeah.
If they were using Workdesk, yeah, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll relinquish this now.
Other questions?
Tell me a little bit about the kinds of staff used on the project. That is, are we talking about software engineers, or have you gone to business analysts? What are the roles of the technical people that support this project?
Yeah, good question. So from our standpoint, we basically had on the staff at the tour level, we had a project manager who's running the project, and we have essentially myself. I oversee our customer services team more than anything, and we're responsible for customer service projects like this, where this is really when I say customer service, it's really our end users. And we did not have anybody on staff necessarily that was an engineer or a developer. We utilized Bluefish Group Terence as really a solution architect. And I mean, he could probably speak to how much coding he actually did versus the configuration like we were talking about before. But that was essentially it. It was not a huge team that undertake this sort of configuration.
And I'd just add one other piece of information. I think Doug described it perfectly in his presentation. I think it's the technical skills required to manipulate the product are not that hard to come by and aren't that specialized. The main thing that you need from somebody like Bluefish is just kind of the roadmap and guidance. Like, here's the direction to go in and where you want to go. And then you may or may not need their help to also do the technical piece. But I think it's critically important with any Alfresco solution to just get started down the right path. And that's where experienced implementers, I think, just provide a huge amount of value beyond just knowing how to manipulate the bits of the product to make the screen look the right way. It's like get you on the right path, the right architectural approach, the right way to translate your business requirements into product capabilities, et cetera. And that's, to me, that's always the difference between the most successful projects and the ones that struggle, are the ones that bring in that expertise to help them get started, are always much more successful.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough, how important to get user adoption and to keep them using the product. If you don't do the upfront work and get the business processes correct up front and get the requirements correct up front, it won't succeed.
Probably time for one more. Okay, everybody's ready to get to lunch, I think. So I don't know, Stefan, if you had some final comments.
So I would be interested to get into a conversation with some of you, what kind of business applications you would like to see next. So we have, of course, a short list, and I think we know what we will do next. So we will focus on horizontal solution, which appears in every vertical. But beside of this, every feedback about which processes keep you up to night at night is very important. We had some more Workdesk presentations over the last couple of days. All are recorded, so if you are interested now and want to go more into the insights, just watch the recordings, as well as we have a few recorded webinars, also from Bluefish, which I really can recommend. And yeah, please feel free to contact me if you want to go in further conversations. Thanks.